one of the biggest misconceptions that people have, I mean, people have all kinds of misconceptions about it because of the last year and a half. If that alone has created a crap ton of them, because you got everywhere you're looking, you have an ad for life coaching school for 2 weeks and you get a certification. And the word certification is thrown around so readily that it just loses all meaning at this point. But that's one thing. But in terms of how people look at coaching and what they look at it for, when you think about coaching, well, how do you think about coaching? What is the first thing that comes to mind for you? A lot of folks I talk to, the first thing that comes to mind for them is going to be at risk, right? So you get coaching as like a last resort before you get fired or get on a performance improvement plan as an HR action. And people tend to think about it that way sometimes. And I want to clarify that, because that's not necessarily really, I mean, that is an area that coaching can focus on, but it's actually a very small area of what coaching focuses on. Because if you think about what's required for coaching, in order for coaching to be successful and to be effective, both parties, the coach and the coachee or the client, have to be invested in the process. And what does that look like? That looks like the coach taking the time and effort to ask questions and work with the client. But on the client side, they have to put in some work as well. They have to be willing to have these uncomfortable conversations. And all that, what it looks like, what that means is being coachable. They have to be willing to be involved in that process. And when you have an employee who's a problem employee, and I don't like labeling people that way, but if you have an employee who is, at risk of, HR action or performance improvement plan or being laid off or fired, that's a difficult thing to kind of pill to swallow at that point. The coachee or the client is going to be invested in the process only so much as it keeps them from getting fired or keeps them to keep their job. And that's not really being coachable. That's still kind of a gun to the head situation. It's like, okay, you do this or else you're fired. And so that's being coerced into it. That's not voluntary. In order for coaching to be fully effective, a person has to be voluntarily there. The most successful clients are the ones who put in the work themselves. You can have the best coach in the world. I mean, the absolute most phenomenal, amazing world-round coach. And then the client's not engaged, the client's not coachable, doesn't matter. The coach is never going to get through because the client doesn't care to get through. If you hire a coach and you're not coachable, or if you hire a coach for someone else and they're not coachable, you're not doing that person or the coach a favor. Your intentions may be good, but you're not going to ultimately get that result that you want from that person, for that person, because they have to be invested in the process. They have to want the help. You can do whatever you want. It's like sending someone to rehab when they just don't want to be there. They may go through the motions, they may do what they have to do, and then they'll be right back on the street or doing whatever they need to do later on, or back drinking in a bar or whatever addiction they have. They'll be back on that in no time. Because if they don't want to change for themselves, they're not going to change for you. And a coach can actually help with that if that person is willing to get the change, if they really want the change for themselves. But if they don't, they're not ready for coaching. And so I would say don't force people to push them in that direction, because they'll just push back. And if you're a coach out there, I know a lot of coaches out there kind of bang their heads against the wall sometimes when they have people who they just can't get through to, right? Whether it's a subcontract that they're working through a company, or whether someone else is paying for the coaching, or whether the person themselves is just paying for the coaching just to say that they're doing it. I've seen that too, believe it or not. But if you're a coach out there and you're working with a client who's not giving you what you're looking for, don't be afraid to hold them accountable and say, listen, hey, what's going on here? You're not being coachable right now. Do you want to be here? If you don't want to be here, then I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. And really hold them accountable and be assertive about it. It's okay to do that, because you're helping them at the end of the day. You can take their money all day, but if you're not helping them, then what's the point? So as a coach, don't hold yourself don't punish yourself if your client's not being coachable. And as a client, or even pre-client, if you're not ready for coaching, not ready to be coachable, don't seek out a coach.